You hit the goal, the promotion, the relationship, the number in your bank account, whatever it was. You got there. And then maybe a week later, maybe a month, this quiet voice showed up asking, "Is this it?" If you felt that, this video is going to change how you understand yourself, because that emptiness isn't a sign something is wrong with you. It's a signal, and once you know what it's pointing at, everything shifts. In this video, I'll show you number 1, why achievement keeps producing that hollow feeling, and why it always will until you understand what's actually driving it. Number 2, what Vedic philosophy and modern psychology both discovered independently about the nature of that longing, and why they point to the same conclusion. Number 3, a concrete way to use that emptiness as a compass instead of a crisis. Starting right now. Let's get into it. A woman I spoke with a few years ago had spent 11 years building toward a specific title at her company, Senior Vice President. She told me the day she got the call, she sat in her car in the parking garage and cried, not from joy, from confusion. She said it felt like she'd been running toward a door her whole life. And when she finally opened it, there was just another hallway. She wasn't depressed, she wasn't ungrateful, she just felt empty. And she had no framework for why. That woman in the parking garage wasn't broken. She was experiencing something researchers now have a name for: arrival fallacy. The psychologist Tal Ben-Shahar at Harvard spent years studying happiness and high achievers, and what he found kept surprising people. The emotional payoff we expect from reaching a major goal almost never arrives the way we imagined it would. We get a spike sometimes, a few days, maybe a few weeks of genuine satisfaction. Then the baseline resets, and we're back to where we started, except now the goal is gone and we don't have the anticipation of it anymore. The reason this happens isn't psychological weakness, it's structural. The mind is built to pursue, not to arrive. From an evolutionary standpoint, the moment you achieve something, your brain starts scanning for the next threat, the next problem, the next thing to secure. Contentment, in the evolutionary sense, was dangerous. Satisfied animals stopped being vigilant. So the brain learned to always want more, to always feel like something is slightly out of reach. But here's where Vedic philosophy adds something that psychology alone doesn't give you. The Bhagavad Gita describes the Atma, the self, as something that exists at a different level than the body and the mind, not in a mystical check your brain at the doorway, in a very specific structural way. The Atma is described as Satchit Ananda, existence, consciousness, and bliss as its natural state, not bliss as a reward, bliss as its nature. What that means practically is this: the self you actually are is not a material thing. And material things, no matter how significant, cannot permanently satisfy something that is not material in nature. Trying to fill that longing with achievements is like trying to quench thirst by eating sand. It's not that the sand is bad, it's that sand was never water. The feeling empty after success pattern isn't personal failure, it's physics. You are putting the wrong thing in the wrong container and wondering why it doesn't hold. The takeaway from this section is a reframe, and it matters. The emptiness you feel after achieving something big is not evidence that you chose the wrong goal or that you are somehow defective. It is evidence that you are correctly sensing a mismatch between what you pursued and what you actually need. There's a Sanskrit word, trishna. It translates roughly as craving or thirst, but the Vedic texts use it to describe something more specific than wanting a thing. They describe it as a misdirected longing. Misdirected, not wrong. The longing itself is pointing at something real. It's just aimed at the wrong target. Think about what you actually want when you want success. You don't want the title on the business card. You want what you think the title will give you: security, recognition, a sense that you matter, that your existence has weight. You want to feel complete. Every goal, when you trace it back far enough, is a proxy for that. And the reason no goal delivers it permanently is that completeness is not a state you arrive at through external accumulation. It's a quality of the self when it is aligned with its actual nature. Modern psychology gets close to this from a different angle. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs ends with self-actualization. But Maslow himself, late in his life, added a level above it: self-transcendence. The idea that the deepest human motivation is not about the self at all, but about connecting to something larger than the individual self. He didn't have the Vedic vocabulary, but he was describing the same territory. The Vedic framework is more specific about what that larger thing is. It describes the Atma as a fragment of a larger consciousness, the way a spark is a fragment of a fire. The spark has the same nature as the fire. It produces light, it produces heat, but separated from the fire, it fades. The longing you feel is the spark sensing the distance from the fire. It's not depression, it's orientation. It's your deeper self registering that something fundamental is out of alignment. Now, I want to be careful here because this can sound abstract very quickly. So let me make it concrete. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most genuinely alive, not most successful, most alive. For most people, those moments have a few things in common. You were fully present. You were connected to something or someone beyond your own interests, and the sense of self, the constant internal narrator, went quiet for a moment. Flow states, deep love, genuine service to another person, moments of awe in nature. These are not accidents. These are moments when the Atma is temporarily expressing its actual nature instead of being filtered through the noise of wanting and achieving. The feeling empty after success is, in this light, a compass. It is pointing you away from the next goal and toward a different kind of engagement with life entirely. Not passive, not renunciation, a different orientation to what you're doing and why you're doing it. Most people respond to the post-achievement emptiness in one of two ways. They either immediately set a bigger goal, which is just postponing the reckoning, or they spiral into a kind of existential dread, wondering if anything matters. Both of those responses treat the emptiness as a problem to escape. What I want to give you is a third option. The Vedic tradition has a concept called viveka, discrimination, not in the social sense, in the philosophical sense, the ability to distinguish between what is real and what is temporary, between what actually satisfies and what only appears to. Viveka is not pessimism about the world. It is clarity about the nature of things. When that hollow feeling shows up after you've achieved something, Viveka is the tool that lets you sit with it instead of running from it. You ask, what was I actually looking for when I pursued this? What did I think this would give me? And is there a more direct path to that thing? Here's what that looks like in practice. A client I worked with had spent years trying to build a business to a specific revenue number. He hit it. 6 months later, he was miserable in a way he couldn't explain. We traced the goal back. What did that number represent to him? Security, freedom, the ability to stop proving himself to his father, who had died 3 years earlier. The number was never about money. It was about a conversation he never got to have. No revenue figure was going to close that. But once he saw it clearly, he stopped treating the emptiness as a business problem and started treating it as information about what actually needed his attention. The Gita's answer to this is not to stop pursuing things. Krishna doesn't tell Arjuna to quit. He tells him to act without attachment to the results. Nishkama karmu, action without craving for the outcome. That's a practice, not a philosophy. It means you can work hard, pursue goals, build things, and still remain free from the cycle of achievement and emptiness, because you are no longer outsourcing your sense of completeness to the result. The practical starting point is simple, and you can do it today. When you notice the emptiness, either after an achievement or just in a quiet moment, don't immediately fill it. Sit with it for 5 minutes, not to analyze it, just to notice it without labeling it as a problem. Ask it one question. What are you pointing at? You won't always get an answer immediately, but you will start building a relationship with that signal instead of a reflex to escape it. Over time, that practice of sitting with the emptiness and asking what it's pointing at becomes a genuine navigation system. It will redirect your energy toward things that actually align with the deeper need: real connection, genuine contribution, presence, the kind of work that feels like expression rather than performance. The feeling empty after success stops being a recurring crisis and becomes a recurring invitation. That navigation system, sitting with the emptiness and asking what it's pointing at, sounds simple, and it is, but applying it to your specific situation, the actual goals you've been chasing, the specific longing underneath them, that's where most people get stuck on their own. If you've been through this cycle more than once, achieved something significant, and still felt that hollow feeling afterward, and you're genuinely ready to understand what's underneath it, I want to offer you something concrete. A free 15 to 30 minute one-on-one consultation call. No pitch, no agenda, just a real conversation about where you are and what's actually going on beneath the surface. You'll walk away from that call with a clear sense of what the emptiness in your life is pointing at and one specific next step you can take. The link to book is in the description at dailymindreset.com/consultation. It costs you nothing and you walk away with something real, whether we ever speak again or not. If this kind of thinking is useful to you, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Tell me this in the comments. What's one goal you achieved that left you feeling emptier than you expected, and what do you think it was really about?